Ross Chastain addresses the difficult conversations he and Trackhouse have had. Kyle Larson apparently may have taken Kyle Busch's Indy 500 ride. And let's talk about North Wilkesboro Speedway. Will it be a success? How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. We'll get to all the latest NASCAR news and controversial quotes in just a few moments, but first, this episode is sponsored by my friends at Aluma. Aluma makes quality trailers for any application. Everything they do on their trailers is extrusion built and specifically engineered. All Aluma trailers are built in the USA and come with a 5-year all-inclusive warranty. Aluminum is lightweight, you don't have to worry about rusting. One of Aluma's most popular products is their tilt car hauler, designed for a smooth loading transition, complete with deck lights for better visibility in the evenings. Aluma has all sorts of great trailers to fit your needs. Head to alumaklm.com. Link is also in the description below to learn more about their products and to find an Aluma dealer near you. Their network of dealers extends across all 50 states and Canada, so be sure to check out Aluma and their line of quality trailers. I know many of y'all are tired of hearing about Ross Chastain. He has been arguably the biggest story of the spring thus far, but we're gonna get the Ross Chastain quote out of the way first today. Rip the band-aid off. Yesterday, we discussed team owner Justin Marks' comment saying that he and Ross Chastain and the team have had difficult conversations this week. Justin Marks admitted that Ross Chastain does need to clean some things up. A real change in tone. Trackhouse singing a different song this week than they have for the past many months. Well, yesterday, out at North Wilkesboro Speedway, Ross Chastain's getting some seat time, some track time this week ahead of the Cup Series All-Star Race on Sunday. Chastain was asked about Justin Marks' comments. I'll put a link to the full Racing America article that I read down in the description below, but here's what Ross Chastain said. Quote, "It was tough conversations. It was. I'm leaning on my team at Trackhouse and outside to help me through this. I get to live with my decisions I make, and I get to live with that for the rest of time. I'll learn from it. I'm human. I'm going to make mistakes. I don't want to make them on that stage or that manner, but I'm going to be better for it." We've heard this song from Ross Chastain before. He sang it last summer, I think after the Gateway race, was it? You know, he got into a couple drivers, had the whole run-in with Denny Hamlin that seemed to last the whole day. He got out of the car and was really hard on himself. I need to do better. I need to do better. Sounds like he's saying some of the same things here, but we know from Gateway last summer to this last weekend at Darlington, Ross Chastain's on-track philosophy really didn't change at all. Still very aggressive, very fast, but sometimes that aggression leads to mistakes that cost him potential wins, like we saw at Darlington this weekend. It's hard to make too much of these comments. We don't know exactly what was said between Chastain, Justin Marks, all of Trackhouse's partners, but hopefully the team is able to work through this because Ross Chastain has superstar written all over him. Nobody wants him to completely ditch the aggressive driving style. Just learn how to pick and choose your battles more carefully, so you don't make enemies that could hurt you down the line and you don't cost yourself and your team race wins. That's all. Easier said than done, I guess. Ross Chastain and Trackhouse are committed to each other long term, so it will be interesting to see if these difficult conversations put any strain on their relationship. But let's move on. There's another interesting quote I saw yesterday on Twitter. It was posted by reporter Bob Pockris, Fox Sports. Kyle Busch was asked about the Indianapolis 500. In the past, he's talked about wanting to potentially do the double, like his brother Kurt did in 2014. Run the Indy 500, run the Coke 600 in the same day. Kyle Busch had said previously that his boss, then Joe Gibbs, apparently told him no, even when Kyle had a whole deal potentially put together. So now that Kyle Busch drives for Richard Childress Racing, it is the month of May, of course, the Indy 500 just a couple weeks away. Busch was asked if he is still interested in running the Indianapolis 500, and this is what Kyle Busch said, quote, "Unfortunately, I think Larson got the ride I was slated to get, and he's got that locked up for 2 years, so I don't know if it will ever happen. It's unfortunate for me wanting to be able to go there and run that race and had a sponsor lined up in order to do it with and been told no everywhere, or we don't have room, or whatever it might be. So that's really frustrating, but it is what it is. Par for the course." Wow, so he mentions Kyle Larson. Larson a few months ago announced that he would attempt the 2024 Indianapolis 500, driving an Aero McLaren entry. I guess Kyle Busch was also in talks with them at some point or another. But Kyle Larson actually later this month, I believe, is going to be participating in an Indy 500 test. So he has officially begun the process of preparing for next year's Indianapolis 500. And Kyle Busch, I don't know, sounds a bit disappointed at the missed opportunity. He was asked then by Bob Pockrass if he's still making calls, if he's still reaching out to Indy 500 teams or sponsors, and Busch said, quote, "I'm not going to be making calls. If somebody calls me and says they're ready to go and it all lines up right, then so be it. We'll go do it." Dang, so it sounds like Kyle Busch, one of NASCAR's greatest drivers, arguably the best driver of the 2010s, may have already missed his opportunity to go race in the Indianapolis 500. Probably the biggest race in the United States. That's a shame. As excited as I am about Kyle Larson running the Indy 500 next year, I'd be equally excited if Kyle Busch were to run that race. Maybe it's not too late. Maybe there's still a chance Kyle Busch will land an Indy 500 seat one day, but it doesn't sound like he's actively pursuing it anymore. Someone else would have to give him the call, and it would have to all make sense. It's not a huge deal or anything. It's not like Kyle Busch's legacy depends on him running the Indy 500. No, not at all. But it would be really cool, and it would be a huge what if Kyle Busch never attempts the Indy 500. What if Kyle Busch had a shot? How would he have done? I hope we get a chance to answer that question one day, but it doesn't sound as likely as perhaps it once did. Now I want to talk about North Wilkesboro Speedway. Tomorrow I'm heading to North Carolina to visit the track for the first time. I'll be there the rest of the weekend. I really don't know what to expect. There are things I'm worried about, like traffic, for example. But I'm also looking forward to seeing Truck and Cup Series drivers have to manage their tires. I love that it's an all-star race without a ton of gimmicks. Like the way the race on Sunday is lined up is pretty simple. I think there's just like a mid-race break. And I mean, there's not a whole lot else to it. It's pretty much just a straight up short track race. The heats on Saturday will be fun. The pit crew challenge on Friday will be interesting at least. There's a lot I'm looking forward to this weekend, but there's also a lot of pressure on this weekend. And for that reason, some of my concerns are amplified. Like, for example, today I saw a couple of tweets, a few reports that the old worn out North Wilkesboro surface is already facing some issues early in the week. This tweet today from Short Track Scene: caution for track repair at North Wilkesboro as the aged pavement needs to be resealed after parts of it started coming up and causing damage to cars on track. Apparently, already this week, they've had to periodically go out and patch up certain parts of the racetrack. A lot of ASA and Cars Tour teams are worried about random pieces coming up and damaging their cars. And it's only Wednesday. The reason I'm worried about this is because there still are ASA events, Cars Tour events, there's tons of events going on during the week, and then this weekend you still got Trucks and Cup. There is so much on-track activity over the next 5 days or so. I'm just hoping and praying that the surface makes it. After this weekend, there's a very good chance they will repave, or maybe they'll tear this thing apart and do a few dirt races like they originally promised, but eventually this surface will be repaved. It just has to survive this week. I don't know much about what kind of technology they have to seal the track. I'm sure SMI, North Wilkesboro, were prepared for this possibility. So I'm not too worried about this being a major issue that dramatically affects the on-track product this weekend, but it's a small concern. Again, that's amplified slightly because there is a ton of pressure on this event. It's the first Cup race here since 1996. For much of the 2000s, this track basically sat abandoned, with buildings falling into disrepair, with nature overtaking parts of the track. Now it's back, thanks to Speedway Motorsports, the North Carolina state government. I think Dale Earnhardt Jr. deserves some credit. iRacing as well. NASCAR for signing off on bringing the All-Star Race here. The local support from the area. NASCAR is a nationwide sport. It's a worldwide sport in many ways, but especially in the US, there are a ton of fans on the West Coast, on the East Coast, the South, the Northeast, the Midwest. There are NASCAR fans nearly everywhere you go. That being said, Wilkes County, North Carolina more broadly, is still per capita the largest supporters of stock car racing. So while NASCAR continues to evolve and tries to recapture mainstream attention by going to the LA Memorial Coliseum, the Chicago Street Race, this return to North Wilkesboro Speedway is supposed to send a message that they still care deeply about their roots, about the longtime hardcore fan, and I think they're doing a pretty good job with their execution. There's some things I'm concerned about. You know, ticket prices, 3-day passes start at like $300. Part of that is SMI bringing in Dierks Bentley, Midland, major musical acts, turning this into a semi-music festival. That's going to drive up the prices. Of course, natural supply and demand. Limited space, limited seats. A lot of people want to come to North Wilkesboro Speedway's triumphant return. All that's going to drive the prices up. I get it. It's a difficult balance for SMI there. You also look at Fox, FS1. Clearly, they're looking for a big return on this race. I think they see what they've been able to do with Major League Baseball and the Field of Dreams game. That first year of the Field of Dreams game between the Yankees and White Sox, they got 6.1 million viewers for that game. That was the highest rated regular season baseball game since the late 90s. Of course, that's on Fox. This race is going to be on FS1, is going to be on cable, but I'm sure Fox is looking at the 2.2, 2.3, 2.5, how many was it? 2.5 million viewers tuned into last year's All-Star Race at Texas Motor Speedway. Dallas-Fort Worth, big market. Fans always tune in for the bigger tracks for whatever reason. I think FS1 is hoping North Wilkesboro outdraws that. And I think many people are assuming, oh yeah, definitely North Wilkesboro is going to beat Texas Motor Speedway in TV viewership. I don't think that's a foregone conclusion. Fans say they want more short tracks, and then, you know, the average viewer just doesn't tune into them. And part of it's markets. Again, I mentioned Dallas-Fort Worth. That's a major metro market. Lots of TVs in the area will be tuned in. North Wilkesboro, North Carolina is not a major market. It is maybe for NASCAR, but you just can't beat the sheer population of Dallas. So there's pressure on this weekend. On track, you want the race to be great. Some concerns with the track surface wearing out, maybe tire wear. While we love tire fall off, there's always a chance it's too much. Race being on FS1, does it pull in the big ratings that Fox is hoping for? And local North Carolina race fans, longtime hardcore stock car racing supporters, do they enjoy the product? Do they feel listened to? Do they feel heard? Do they feel appreciated when it's all said and done? In many ways, with all the tickets sold, I think this event is already probably a success. But now that you've promised the world, pressure is on this weekend to hopefully deliver. What are you most looking forward to out at North Wilkesboro Speedway this weekend? What are you most concerned about? Again, as someone who's going, I'm most concerned about traffic. I'll live, I suppose. But let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like. Helps me out a ton. And if you're new to the channel and you love NASCAR, you're in the right place. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you stay in the loop on all the latest stock car racing news. And thank you to my Patreon supporters for your continued support. I will see you all again tomorrow. Got tons of videos coming out over the next few days. I'll see you out at the racetrack though, North Wilkesboro Speedway. I can't wait. Can't wait to see it in person after hearing about it all these years. Take it easy, y'all. I'll see you in the next episode.